A mirror-like lake lies hidden deep beneath the burning desert sands. Meanwhile, pure gypsum branches grow upside down in an absolutely sterile environment. A frozen fissure preserves fossilized remnants from millions of years ago. This makes us wonder why these extraordinary realities coexist deep underground. What lies beyond our understanding? Could the darkness not be a wasteland, but an inverted universe? We walk the surface of this planet every day, proud of sharp satellite maps that can zoom into any street corner. We believe the age of exploration has closed. All of Earth's mysteries seem to have been laid bare under the sun. But that is merely a naive complacency of our humanity. Right beneath the fragile layer of rock and soil we stand on is a completely different world. There, it silently operates like a deep, hidden universe. In that place, all our common understanding of geology is shaken. Even biological limits are powerfully challenged. Why are humans, creatures born under the sun, willing to trade their lives? Why do we accept crawling into Earth's eternal darkness? Do we truly understand the place we live? Or have we only just touched its outermost crust? The reality deep underground is incredibly strange. It goes far beyond any science fiction novel humanity has ever written. It is not a lifeless black hole. It is a living entity preserving the most primitive fragments of life and time. All of our most modern technology becomes powerless against solid rock walls. In these moments, humans are left with only survival instincts and awe before nature. Imagine yourself hanging suspended on a thin rope. Below is a bottomless abyss, and all around is the sound of groundwater crashing against ancient stone walls. In that place, time seems to stand still. Every step you take is an unanswered existential question. We are about to enter a journey to discover the 10 deepest boundaries beneath the Earth. This is where the Earth hides its greatest secrets, which perhaps we are not yet ready to understand. 10 locations, 10 journeys of 10,000 miles, all beginning with a staggering contrast. We usually think of the desert as a place of death where life is scorched by hot sand. But nature always has a way of preserving its lifeblood. It happens in places no one would expect. Deep beneath the barren sand of the Kalahari Desert, a mystery has been silently waiting for millions of years. It exists to challenge every common theorem about water and survival. Picture a fractured cliff in the middle of the barren, burning Kalahari. Crawling through this dark, narrow crevice, you suddenly face a deep blue lake. That mirror-like lake lies motionless in eternal darkness. How can a massive, never-ending freshwater lake exist beneath this harsh desert? Can any source of life thrive in a world completely devoid of light? The water here is incredibly pure. The naked eye cannot distinguish the boundary between the air and the still water. Geological studies at Dragon's Breath Cave show the lake was formed by an ancient limestone karst structure that captured rainwater millions of years ago. This volume of water is protected from evaporation by a stone ceiling hundreds of meters thick. Yet, no one knows how deep this lake actually is, or where its water conduit cave system leads beneath the African continent remains a question. The sensation of the first diver letting themselves sink into the cool water was special, like absolute salvation in the heart of the hot desert. It proves the desert is not empty, but merely hiding its most precious treasure. Life beneath the Kalahari Desert shows that water can escape the sun to preserve itself. But what happens when an underground system is completely isolated for millions of years? Has nature created its own sterile laboratory, where our biological laws are challenged? leave the still lake behind to enter a breathtaking maze of crystals. There, life evolves by converting energy directly from ancient rocks. Here, giant ridges of pure, snow-white gypsum crystals grow downward from the cave ceiling. They look like glowing swords of light in the darkness. Lechugia is one of the most beautiful caves in the world. Why is it sealed and completely banned from all tourism? How can the ancient microbes here resist the strongest antibiotics of modern medicine? The strange thing is, they have never had contact with humans. Deep within Lechugia, life has rewritten its own definition. It is an environment with no light and no plants. The ancient single-celled organisms here survive by metabolizing minerals from limestone. They thrive in an environment with toxic concentrations of sulfuric acid rising from the earth. They prove that the sun is not the only mandatory condition of creation. The light source we believe is the origin of all life is, in fact, just an option. The pure crystals of Lechugia represent sterile stillness. But elsewhere, the earth is shaping itself through geological violence. There are water-filled abysses that were not shaped by raindrops from the sky. They were erupted directly from the furnace deep within the earth. We are approaching an abyss filled with underground acid. Here, the boundary between fresh water and destruction is completely blurred. Follow a bright yellow underwater robot as it slowly sinks into the grayish waters of the ancient Hranis abyss. The water is incredibly murky, filled with carbon dioxide bubbles. This is the deepest flooded abyss in the world. Why is it impossible to measure using conventional human diving methods? Could this place be directly connected to geothermal activity deep inside the Earth? In 2022, a sophisticated underwater robot passed a depth of 450 flooded meters. Yet, it still could not reach the actual bottom. Geologists explain that the abyss was created from the bottom up. Warm groundwater, saturated with carbon dioxide and sulfuric acid, has continuously eroded the limestone from inside the core over millions of years. Still, the true bottom of this deep abyss remains unanswered. This is despite diver Krzysztof Starnowski touching the slippery rock wall at a depth of over 200 meters. His fear reminds us of the physical limits of humans. The Earth is not a silent block of stone, but a self-shaping, living entity. Acidic erosion creates flooded caverns. Alongside these, there are also voids in the Earth shaped by pure gravity. What if all the ancient water and ice drained away? A massive vertical shaft would be revealed, cutting straight through the heart of the Alps. Imagine yourself hanging suspended on a slender rope. There are no ledges to hold, no light for direction, only absolute void pulling your body down. Right now, an explorer is hanging on a rope as thin as a spider's web. Surrounded by pitch blackness, they are completely unable to see the rock walls around them. What if you fell freely in absolute darkness? 10 continuous seconds would pass before you hit the ground. How can the human mind endure this massive 603-meter vertical void? Studies at Vrtoglavica cave show this structure was formed by an ancient glacier. It carved its way straight down along a fault line in the Julian Alps during the Ice Age. Vrtoglavica is a single vertical shaft with no ledges or obstructions. Yet, the impact of sudden pressure changes on the human psyche remains a major mystery. Listen to the explorer's pounding heartbeat through the audio recorder at the 300-meter mark. We realize that 10-millimeter rope is the fragile boundary of existence. Facing the absolute void is the ultimate challenge of the mind. A silent void in the heart of the Alps can test your nerves. Yet nature also possesses dynamic mazes, where silence can be torn apart by the roar of floodwaters. Leave the dry, cold cliffs of the Julian Alps behind. Let us go to the sacred land of Oaxaca, Mexico. There, the underworld is not just rock and empty space. It is a breathing organism, ready to swallow those who disrespect it with raging waters. The torches of the Mazatec people reflect on ancient statues at the cave entrance. This image stands in stark contrast to the modern lights of the explorers about to wade into the underground river. Sistema Huautla is a cave system that has claimed the lives of many top experts. Why does this place continue to attract those who risk their lives? Can a light rain dozens of kilometers away bring disaster? It can turn narrow passages into massive pressure relief valves in just minutes. The karst terrain of Oaxaca has an extremely high density of sinkholes. It acts as a giant funnel, pouring all the rainwater of the entire mountain range into a single drainage system. Yet, is the spiritual map of the underworld kept by the indigenous people truly accurate? Does it align with the deepest cave branches that science has yet to map? Hearing the roar of rising floodwaters from the maze, the explorer is forced to abandon their gear and retreat. That decision reminds us that while science seeks to conquer, nature demands reverence. Respecting nature is the lesson beneath Mexico's underground flash floods. But in the arid highlands of Central Asia, the challenge takes on a different tone. It is not an abundance of floodwater, but extreme scarcity. Humans must carry every drop of drinking water to survive in the darkness of the freezing limestone maze. Step into a narrow fissure on a vertical cliff. Here, a tragic family story provided the key to the abyss below. On a gray limestone cliff, 2,650 meters above sea level, the landscape is utterly dry. A narrow entrance leads straight down into the cold underground of Central Asia. Personal tragedy occurred in 1971. How did this event accidentally unlock the key to exploring the Boibulok cave system, the deepest in Asia? Why are precious fossilized dinosaur footprints perfectly preserved in this harsh environment? Boibulok is extremely arid in its upper levels, with temperatures near freezing year-round. Situated in the Hisar Range, it lacks a major source of erosive rainwater. Yet, is there a physical connection to the neighboring Vishnevsky cave? Or would that turn it into a cave system exceeding a depth of 2,500 meters? In 1971, a local man crawled into the cave to find water to save his family. During that severe drought, he went missing forever. The story of the explorers finding his remains years later is deeply moving. It portrays the existential pain of humans facing nature. The underground darkness does not only hold geological mysteries, it also preserves the forgotten human stories of history. These stories often carry a melancholic tone. But for some explorers, the abyss is where they choose to live, accepting the challenge to their physical limits. We often think of exploration as climbing upward to reach great heights. But there are those who spend their entire lives doing the opposite. They carry out an expedition, a reverse Everest, lasting for months deep underground. Imagine tons of equipment, ropes, and oxygen tanks being lowered into a deep rock fissure. This complex pulley system operates like a major military campaign. Why is exploring the deepest point of Sistema Chevet so dangerous? It is compared to a one-way space mission with no chance of rescue. What if you had a serious accident here? That location is more than 10 kilometers in length and 1.5 kilometers in depth from the cave entrance. Explorers must live for over 30 consecutive days underground. They have to navigate flooded sumps using homemade equipment inside a tightly squeezed karst fault system. Yet, what lies beyond sump number 2? This passage is believed to take Chauvet past the world depth record. Beneath the dark cave dome, the team members speak in whispers. Their vibrant red tents stand out starkly in the darkness. It shows the sacred connection of camaraderie when facing extreme risk. The human will is the most powerful tool, transcending all limits. The warmth of camaraderie underground is the sole flame that saves us. It keeps us from being swallowed by the eternal cold of ancient stone. But as we go deeper, the temperature does not rise as conventional geothermal theory suggests. Instead, it unexpectedly drops below freezing. Prepare to enter a majestic underground ice fortress hidden inside a sheer cliff. There, time is perfectly frozen. Everything remains intact, completely isolated from all the world's fluctuations. Before your eyes, an explorer slides down a massive emerald green ice tube. Around them are hand-sized ice crystals, sparkling like diamonds under the headlamps. How does a massive ice cave system like Dark Star persist? Strangely, it lies right next to the hot border of Afghanistan. Why does the temperature here always remain below 0 degrees Celsius? It completely defies the sweltering summer of the outside world. Being over 3,700 meters high, cold winter air gets trapped inside deep cave pockets and cannot escape. As a result, the system remains frozen year-round. This is a perfect climate time capsule, preserving weather data from hundreds of thousands of years ago. But what other biological secrets still lie sleeping beneath icefalls that have never been mapped? Geologist Boaz Langford realized he was standing in a pristine space. It has never been polluted by the Industrial Revolution, bringing a profound sense of awe. The Earth silently stores history inside these underground ice fortresses. This proves that ice does not only exist at the poles, but is also protecting the past beneath barren mountain ranges. The ice fortress of Dark Star preserves the atmosphere's past. Yet, there are other abysses preserving the most wondrous thing of all, life itself. We usually think that at extreme depths, sunlight vanishes forever. At that point, the Earth is entirely a dead world. But nature always knows how to break every human rule. Come to the Everest of the underground to witness a strange encounter with the primitive ancestors of life. Right now, an explorer is crawling through a narrow gap flooded with 2 degrees Celsius water. Behind it, a deep abyss suddenly opens, echoing with the roar of an underground waterfall crashing violently against limestone walls. Krubera is completely devoid of sunlight. What has nourished life to exist at a depth of nearly 2,000 meters underground here? How can eyeless, semi-transparent creatures survive? They must grow under immensely high atmospheric pressure. Scientists discovered the springtail species Plutomurus ortobologonensis living at a depth of minus 1,980 meters. This is the deepest terrestrial animal ever recorded. This underground ecosystem is sustained by scarce organic nutrients drifting down from the surface. In addition, it couples with chemoautotrophic microbes that synthesize energy directly from limestone. Yet, is there a physical limit to depth for complex life underground? At the 2-kilometer deep camp, a young biologist is completely stunned to see this tiny creature moving under a portable microscope. That image reminds us of the wonder of survival in evolutionary darkness. The deep evolutionary cradle of Krubera brings us to the boundary of life. Yet, there is still one final extreme limit ahead. It is the deepest place humans can reach with a rope underground. It is an incredibly dangerous abyss. Every meter descended here carries the risk of being buried forever by sudden, rising underground flash floods. Enter the final boundary of the physical world, where eternal darkness reigns. There, you must face your own primal fear. Look upward from the deepest shaft on Earth. Your thin rope disappears into the pitch blackness amidst cascading underground waters. Why is Veryovkina, the deepest point on Earth, the most dangerous place? Here, a single small mistake becomes an eternal grave. What happens when an underground flash flood suddenly rises dozens of meters in just a few hours? It will isolate you completely from the surface world. The bottom of Veryovkina, at minus 2,212 meters, is a flooded sump system filled with active silt. The geological structure of the Arabica Massif acts as a giant natural water basin, funneling every underground river toward this lowest exit. Yet, where does the underground conduit system below the sump named Captain Nemo actually lead? The question of this pathway beneath the Black Sea remains a great unsolved mystery. At the deepest point of the planet, the explorers embrace in silence without a single cheer. At this moment, only profound awe remains before the power of eternal darkness. That moment portrays the beauty of the human will. It reminds us that reaching the deepest point is not about conquering the earth, but about realizing the smallness of humanity before the greatness of nature. The 10 locations, the 10 deepest abysses of our planet we have just passed through, are not just about records. They are not merely numbers established by ropes or air tanks. They speak of something much deeper. It is the fragile boundary between humanity's complacent knowledge and the absolute darkness of the planet. We spend centuries spending billions of dollars to look up at the stars. Humans launch modern space telescopes into the cosmos. We search tirelessly for extraterrestrial life in distant galaxies. But we forget one thing. Right beneath our feet is a primitive and alien universe. It has been silently existing for millions of years. We can map every valley on the surface of Mars in detail, millions of kilometers away. Yet, humans are completely helpless in another basic task: sending a radio signal through 100 meters of solid rock directly beneath our feet. We think we have mastered reality. But when facing these abysses, that complacency instantly collapses. It is the deepest lesson in humility before knowledge. Standing before these deep sinkholes, remember that the Earth has existed for over 4 billion years. This planet is completely unaffected by the brief appearance of humanity. These caves reigned there long before we were born. They will continue to lie silently in the dark long after the last human footprint vanishes. The explorer's journey into the dark is not recklessness. It is the purest expression of the human spirit, willing to take risks to expand the boundaries of understanding. Even in the deepest and coldest darkness, the light of curiosity still burns bright. Our will to survive has never gone out.